Call to order tonight at 5:03. If we could stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we'll move right on to item C, which is public comments. Since we are hybrid, we do offer the opportunity for both in-person public comment and virtual. And we always defer to those in-house with us. So, you know, you're. Are you in public comment?
No.
No. We just want to give you an opportunity to say more. Okay. All right, perfect.
I'll do so in the future.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, no problem. All right, so we'll then open it up virtually for anybody who's public comment.
No online attendance.
No online. All right, perfect. All right, thank you very much. So we'll move right on to minutes. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the attached August 21st, 2024 minutes. We do have a slight amendment to the documents that we have in our agenda packet. So if you notice, just the heading of the minutes should read, Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 instead of September. So that would be the adjustment to the minutes here for the agenda. But any other discussion we can get for a minute. So can I have a motion, please? Second. All right, so we'll open it up for any further discussion. All right, if there's nothing else, all in favor with the amendment? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, item E, correspondence received 8/20/24 to 9/19/2024. We do not have anything included in our packet for that time frame, but I always take the opportunity to let people know that we certainly, besides obviously having these meetings for people to attend at any time and provide public comment, you can certainly reach us using our contact form on the homepage of our website. So it's a great opportunity to ask questions or look for additional clarification on anything or provide comment, so that we'll make sure to get an answer or response back to you as soon as we can. So we'll move right on to reports. F1 chair report, nothing specific for me to report out tonight. So we'll move right on to F2, town council liaison report.
I don't really have much to report. The only thing I would say is that our last town council meeting, which was last week, we did have public comment, a question about when the portions of the high school that are not complete would be complete. And my understanding is that the black box auditorium has now been complete, but I would like to know, and I'm sure we're going to have additional detail on this today, but what the status of the auditorium is so that I could report that back.
Do you want to do that now, Melissa, or do you want to wait for the report? Okay.
So the auditorium, we're blocking the inspectors tomorrow with both the building inspector and the fire marshal at 11 a.m. We're starting the final cleaning tomorrow and Friday and turning it over to the school one day so that they can start getting ready for the open house, which is on the 26th. Gives them a few days ahead of that.
Excellent. Thank you.
They're starting up equipment tomorrow, so that'll be in order.
Great.
Did you hear all that? Was it?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Any questions for Sarah in addition? All right, excellent. We'll move right on to the Board of Education liaison report.
I just would like to say we had our first meeting of the school year in the new high school on Monday night, and so we got this Great thing for our board members and the public, and guests. So, yeah, it's great to be in the Black Box Theater and get some updates. Be there. We're gonna stay there for the majority of our meetings this school year, correct? Usually we go out to other locations, but we're gonna bring different schools and students to us and do that throughout the building, so we can be able to have more opportunity to see our.
Great. Excellent.
All right, do you have anything else?
No, just Kim's, maybe Russ and Kim's presentation. I know Kim had presented at convocation, and then Russ and Kim at the board meeting on the kind of science or the why behind the way we design certain learning spaces and how it has a relationship to learning and wellness. And so I know I talked to Kat that maybe that's something all of you would want to see at some point, just so you have that understanding of, like, there's real research behind developing learning spaces in certain ways. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think maybe even for the next meeting, schedule, I think all of us would appreciate, you know, all the thought that went into what we love there and see. So great. All right, any other questions on Board of Education? No, but we can. Yeah, you got an update. Okay, well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna open up for Nancy, please, so the committee report.
Sure. So we've gotten a lot of written comments, questions from our contractors who attended the pre-bid meetings back on September 4th. And a few of those have requested that we extend our bid. It was supposed to be open on the 24th of September. We pushed that back to October 3rd. So that we can accommodate their request for just a couple different materials such as those. And that was the biggest item that they were waiting to get prices on. So everything's still moving forward.
Any questions on that, on 1928? All right, thank you, Chris. All right, we move right on to F5, architect report.
So, TFA completed our bachelor's for all the interior spaces except the auditorium, the scene shop and some of the storage spaces around the auditorium. And last week, I did functions of the building exterior, all the elevations, and then also the roof and also the black box theater. And so this week, like tomorrow, I'll go back and kind of review all the ready to inspect items that OMG has submitted. So that's on my list for tomorrow. And last week, at the end of last week, we kind of issued the grandstands proposal request. So it's with OMG for pricing. And earlier this week, we kind of reviewed and we've done several tennis court submittals and also built out submittals for high school.
Any questions on that? Additional thoughts, details?
I have a question that not specifically about any that was just any of the items just raised, but couple comments that I had received mostly from students. It's amazing how if you stop at the bus stop, you might get some of the kids off their phones and their thoughts and opinions. And one of the things that they had asked about was really sort of missing some of the sort of colorful things that they recall as part of the old high school. And one of the ideas that was raised, and I raised this as under the architectural stuff, is because maybe it's part of the interior design of what may be added. And if this is already part of the package, then, and I've missed it, I apologize. But those posters that hung in the library in the old high school were a very artistic way of showing the life of the people in the high school. And I wonder, they were wondering, is there a way that something like that could be incorporated into the new high school? And is there a plan for bringing some of that sort of interior color that as you live in the building, you begin to figure out the kinds of things that add more of the vibrancy and life to the spaces from an interior design perspective?
I would just say that the high school is built for displays of work, of student work. So when you walk down the hallway, you see a lot of display areas. And so as we're in the building, you know, those are things you would never have when you first walk in. They're created by students. So that takes time. And this is a K-12 thing. We don't want classrooms set up without students helping the teacher to do that. So that's co-constructed with kids. And that's what will happen as students produce work. So those posters around the library, for instance, was an art project that students created. And so those types of things would continue. It's just that we're in this brand new building, and that's going to happen, I think, organically as we go through the year. I will say bulletin boards are, I was in the building yesterday and I could see the bulletin boards going up. So in the main street, there's going to be bulletin boards where not only in the display areas, but on the bulletin boards, things would be added there. And, you know, that's happening, you know, as we go along with finalizing the school building. So yes, I would say very much that this building would have even more display of work in progress and final products because of the way it was designed, was to ensure that we could do that. That's a big part of our work K-12 is displaying student work and having celebrations of learning where families come in and get to see that work that their students have completed.
Thanks. I totally appreciate the organic nature of that being co-created. What I was just trying to figure out, Kathy, is that from the architect's perspective, from an interior design, I've seen other places where the architects actually offer opinions about places where banners might be hung that are created by students, as you say, in that organic co-creating space, and just wondered if there was anything from an interior design perspective from the architectural team about how some of that, the intentionality of offering a place where things like that might be hung or as banners. Just, we've got a large volume of space, and how might is there a thought about how the volume of space might be used to create installations where the students are co-creating them and and regenerating them year after year after year, or if that was not a part of the interior design thought?
I think it's just the tack boards, like we have the tack boards, like in the main concourse spaces, and now we're adding also additional tack boards in area spaces. So I don't think we've seen it as a 3-dimensional space. I think it's mostly 2-dimensional is what we think. And
Okay.
And with that, you know, a student or students can propose an art installation and it would go through as if we were the customers. They go through a process of proposing things to us where they'd like to put it. And we go back and forth with them, you know, to give them kind of a simulation of real world. If you were to do this in the real world and you have a place where you want to do an art installation and you've been hired, there's a back and forth feedback and all of that. So I would definitely think that everything that we had done in the old building as far as displays of those things would continue. But it is a process, even in the old building, of where they would go, how they would be displayed, and then a process of like approval of the work, because we want to, you know, give kids real world types of experiences. I will say also that signage is not up yet. There will be a lot more signage in the building. It's just not up. So for instance, the cafeteria is the Grove. So that is going to be some signage there. And then each of the academic towers has a different name. You know, so I do think as we live in this space, it'll get more and more personalized to the students and the educators and our community over time.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Did you say for the tennis court, the bids are still awaited or?
No, it's already awarded.
Okay.
It's already awarded and we're seeing submittals now.
Okay.
Yeah, of the concrete nets and the fiber
Oh.
proposals that are concrete, even the finish and the fencing around it. So that's what we're reviewing now.
Any other questions? Good there. We'll move right on to construction manager report.
Thank you, Meg. Application for payment, I'll go over that once we reach it on the agenda. High school construction overall is 99% complete on the new high school site work. We're roughly 90% commissioning activities with the testing and balancing at 70%. We still have to get into the heating season, so that it'll hover around 78% until we get into November. But the heating side has been all water balanced. Arthur touched on the punch list. Everything's punched out except the auditorium punch list. Status about 65% complete, and it's being performed on hours. Black box theater was turned over on 9/11. The Board of Ed meeting held on 9/16. Auditorium CO walkthrough will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. We turned over an additional 99 student parking spots, turned it over earlier than expected, and there will be more student parking turned over mid-October, when we get into the next phase of paving. Reclaiming asphalt, as you can see up Monteith, that started today with proof rolling, and that paving will also be done in conjunction with the student parking, and most likely during the holiday break in October. DOT pedestrian walkway, that work is nearing completion. Supply chain issues that we encountered over the summer. Permanent generator, we have confirmation, and we're coordinating with the school to get the permanent generator online and the temporary offline November 1st. Canopy glass is tracking to be shipped out on September 30th, and we'll do that for off hours as well. Hopefully we can do it during that holiday break as well in October. Temp generator, we set that up for the late football games, and we're working on a permanent solution as we speak. And that power will be coming from the high school side. To feed those lights, area F central office and old high school demolition, mass demolition is nearing completion. Currently tearing down the old auditorium. So we're almost through we actually reached the stage side. So there will be, you'll start seeing more of that building coming down shortly. 1928 building is completely divorced from the rest of the building. So they did that select demo. So now you actually could see how the building looked on the back side back in 1928. Select demolition started in area F. That's where our field office is located currently in the old 900 wing. The roofing was delivered and that work has started as well. Tennis courts, submittals are being wrapped up by TSKP. The subgrade and post tension slab work that's scheduled to start in October. Drone shots, our drone person will be here tomorrow at 1. School's dismissed out to half a day, so they're coming at 1 o'clock to do some interior drone footage. And we're just coordinating with the 1928 building project as needed.
Questions from anybody? I'll just give you a heads up about things. So you said mid-October, so we have about 60 people coming up there on the 14th to set up, but then we have all of our teachers on the 15th. Even though it's a day off of school, all of our teachers have a professional development day, and it's up at FHS with those additional people. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that it'll be a busy place.
Yes.
Especially on Tuesday. It's a day off for students, but not for teachers.
No, we have that mark. It's, to not do it on that specific.
Any other questions? Anybody online? All good? I'll make sure we check in with them. All right, thank you, Milton. All right, we will move right on to project management contingency report.
Sure, we processed 9 more change orders for this past month. We have, there's still quite a few change orders that are coming that we have to finalize after the project's done, being in there. Items, Nelson and his team are still working on those, so we'll be coming forward. We have, a couple bigger change orders that are gonna be coming. The tennis court lights, those change are going to be about $100,000. The retaining wall, we got pricing on that, that's another 100,000. There are the move the greenhouse and build the greenhouse, buy the greenhouse, build it, and relocate the auto shed, that's about 100,000. Irrigation, that was unknown where it came out of. If they did it, that's going to be about 45,000. And we're still waiting on prices for the leachers, for those plans to be finalized, so it should be coming sometime soon. A little bit of bigger items that you're going to see coming relatively soon for more than likely the next meeting. Other than that, we are still doing fairly well, we're doing really well with our contingency for both owners and construction managers for both projects. And I'll get into more of the details as we go through the items for this my change orders.
Questions from anybody on additional details? And as Russ mentioned, now the contingency that we have in front of us, those bigger items are indicated if you're going to do this forecasted. So we can keep track and understand that these things are rising. Questions on any of that? No? All right, so we'll move right down to owner's rep and manager report, Chris.
Starting with management, there was a meeting today to review the items that were on the stage that have to move over, not the black box there, but close to being complete. That process is going to start tomorrow, moving over the stage equipment first, and then once that stuff is complete, we're going to jump into the 1928 building and start removing any of the contents in there. We did have 15 new overdue FF&E items that did show up. Those were assembled and placed last week. There are approximately 6 overdue items that are pending for October. Minor punch list of the new furniture is taking place. The piano that's going to be set up, they're going to put the legs back on and have that ready for the stage. That's going to be another item, and pretty much wraps up the FF&E or move management. Project management wise, continue on punch listing. All areas pretty much punch listed, other than the auditorium. I've been back punching, so going through items that says they're complete, so checking those, and then anything that's been installed that was a to-do item, looking at those items as well. And going through the O&M manuals and logging those as to what's been received so far, so keeping those logs. And for the central office, reviewing the schedule. Now that things are starting to pick up, we'll be paying more attention to that schedule and putting comments to that and tracking that as well.
Any questions on that update, revision, or? Thanks, Chris. We'll move right on to communications subcommittee report. So we did have a meeting just prior to this meeting to talk about communications moving forward to big topics of conversation for the newsletter. I think we have our content, I would say 95% finalized. So we hope to get the final back from either next week or just another final review of that. And then that's hoping to get out in the mail, hopefully mailboxes first week of October. Couple things that are going to happen there. That includes an announcement for the open house that we're planning for October. And we can talk a little bit more about those details as well. But I want to make sure I communicate out that is scheduled for October 26th from 9 to 3. And we will be sending out a sign-up sheet to building committee members for volunteer assignments. We're gonna be looking for some help for check-in for people participating that day. And so you will get a separate sign-up for that, so any support you can give us for that day would certainly be appreciated, but more to come on that. You know, Kathy, we'll run through a few more details, nothing major, just high level on that.
So we are in that invitation to the public will be an opportunity for people to sign up for a certain time spot. Between 9 and 3, we're gonna be offering tours every half hour. And there'll be certain number of spots per half hour to sign up. We'll have student volunteers bringing people through the tour. And the tour groups are limited to 20 people per tour group. We're gonna use Sign Up Genius, which is a great tool to kind of put those time slots in. Once that closes, that time's not available, and then every half hour again will be the tours. We'll have people check in when they walk in the public entrance, go into the auditorium, they'll have a 10 to 15-minute presentation, and then their tour leader will bring them throughout the building. So it's gonna be a great opportunity to see some of the spaces that we didn't open up in the open house portion of it, just because school was starting the next day and there was a very large turnout. So good opportunity to get in there and see the building.
Any questions on that? So more to come, more information to come, but please put in, kind of save the date for that October 26th, 9 to 3, and absolutely shifts, from a perspective. You have other obligations that day, but hopefully we get some support from everybody. And then we're obviously going to gauge interest coming out of this to see, what that means. You know, you see this have the same kind of response that we have with the ribbon cutting, and we'll talk about it to be for other opportunities, but also remember, we're balancing this out with a lot of other things that are high school that's happening on the 26th, so even more parents coming in and actually walking around the school doing the school schedule, which would be awesome. Maybe I'll pop in just to, you know, kind of, you know, a kid there maybe, and walk around a little bit, but, and then obviously public meetings being held there, if people are not, so we might be getting people in other ways, which is great, and seeing how the school is actually see it in its living state versus just kind of a toured environment. We certainly will see if there's additional opportunities we can provide, maybe, but not maybe to the springtime or something else. What the need is. So, all right. Any other questions on communications? I think that's pretty much what we covered, right? All right. So we'll go right to financial subcommittee report. So per usual, we had our financial subcommittee meeting last Friday in preparation for this meeting, where we went through a full review of the invoices and change orders that will go today. All of those have been reviewed by the subcommittee. We did a quick analysis of the contingency law as well. Ross walks us through that conversation. I don't think there's any other special topics we discussed on Friday, other than what we'll get to in the new business portion of our agenda tonight. So the financial report, I think we do have some updates, right?
Yep, so in front of you is an updated financial report. This is our committee account that we typically use for newsletters, miscellaneous marketing items, and stuff for like the ribbon cutting. That's where a lot of these expenses came out of. The additional items that were in this month are the actual custom ribbon that we ordered for the ribbon cutting, the scissors for the ribbon cutting, the food that we provided that went in record time, the light refreshments and cookies are in there, as well as printing for the programs. And you'll see later in the agenda are 2 invoices to approve for technical services that were for convocation and for the ribbon cutting, and we'll explain those later. The ribbon cutting expense comes out of this account, whereas the other expenses in the contingency fund that would come out of works contingency. So because it was associated with the ribbon cutting, we took it out of this account for the committee. So that's the only difference there. Other than that, still in good shape, over $40,000 in this account, which is great because we have another newsletter going out, and I think we're in very good shape.
Any questions on financial report? All right, excellent. So that concludes, reports for tonight, and we'll move right on to item G1, new business. Can I have a motion to approve the following invoice package for Farmington High School as presented? Please. Second. Oh, it's a comment. That's deep down in the detail. She's. All right, we're gonna open this one up for discussion.
All right, so the first invoice up for approval from TSKP Studio in the amount of $42,000. This is their monthly invoice for professional services related to construction administration. Pretty much their monthly fees. This one's pretty straightforward. The next one on the agenda is OMG's pay application. Nelson, I'll have you go over that one.
So this pay application was reviewed last Tuesday at with the professional partners, and then it was finalized and then reviewed again at the sub-financial subcommittee on Friday. And the final amount adjusted down is $4,330,632.37 for approval.
Next one is independent materials testing labs. This is our materials testing. This application was reviewed by OMG against the field log as well as the reports received and approved for payment. The next two invoices are for innovative engineering services. This is our commissioning agent. One invoice is for the work performed through July. That's the second invoice in the packet, and the first invoice was the work they submitted in June. It was the work performed in May. We did not receive the invoice ever, so we just received it last month. It's just catching up on that, so that's why there are two invoices for approval. Next invoice is the monthly project management services. This also has the timesheets as always for the time produced for project management from us. Next on the agenda is Arcadis. The majority of this invoice is for move management services. There was a large push towards the end to get the furniture over. A few items still remain, but the majority of this invoice is for that, as well as project management for the high school. Next we have JT Homes. This is one of our FF&E items. This is their fourth payment application, reviewed and approved by Tom Beebe and Susan at TSKP. Matched up that we received these items, and that this is approved for payment. Norcom is the next invoice. This is for some technology. Matt Ross reviewed this and okayed for payment. This is their second milestone, 45% completion. So this is just kind of following up the work that was performed up. The next two invoices are from Vintage King Audio. This is for technology, reviewed and approved by Matt Ross, and these items have been delivered and or installed. So those are recommended for payment as well. The next two invoices are from Meyer. This is the actual mover. So just as Arcadis had most of their invoice was related to the move, this is kind of catching up with the moving services that were performed to get the building open in time. So two from Meyer. Next we have Sweetwater. This is technology vendor. This is reviewed and approved by Matt Ross and confirmed that the items were received and installed. Robert H. Lord are the next two invoices, and you'll see that they are pretty big invoices. Robert H. Lord held the largest FF&E contract at about $1.3 million. This concludes this, so this brings their balance for their PO down to 0 because their materials were received and installed and recommended for payment by Susan and Tom. Valley Communications is one of our technology contractors, reviewed and approved by Matt Ross for their application. This is the majority of the work. They still have a little bit, about $5,000 PO, so that should be us. Total Fitness Equipment is another FF&E vendor. This is obviously the gym equipment for $13,000. And I believe they still have, they still have a little bit remaining, so items have been received, approved by Susan, and recommended for payment. We should expect more from that in the coming weeks. Tucker Library Interiors, this is FF&E for the library, shelving. $82,616.54. This is the total amount of their PO, so everything has been received from this vendor. Atlas Technical Consultants, they oversee the abatement and remediation monitoring for the demolition of the old high school. This is their monthly application for us this month. It's $4,873.30. And that's it for invoices, so I'll turn it over to Russ for the change orders.
Thanks, Pat. First change order, we start with B. Is for $72,690. This is for alternate 5 that was accepted in the bid. Changing from sheet rock to base block corridor. Sorry, I apologize. All these change orders are sent to the decision making group and for approved in the financial committee on Friday. PO 109 is basically build a soffit wall on the 3rd floor, 9 floors to cover the sprinkler system so that Kathy would hang on if she walks up there. PO 148, the credit for the fence that goes along the parent drop-off loop. It's a wrought iron fence that creates a help. The detail for the fence had a plate on the top. Submitted, the fence came in and didn't have that plate, so we got it. Instead of waiting for about 6 weeks for the fence to come back, don't put in a credit for $5,100. PCO 150, $50,354. That's for all the work that's going on. That permit required by DOT at the intersection of Monteith Drive and Route 4 to include true pedestrian crossing both across Monteith and across Route 4. PCO 152 is we had to add additional loops, additional drops. Additional drops. We had 5 additional drops as a typo for $4,456 to coordinate with the furniture installs. PCO 154 is an additional rack for the clock and the PA equipment to accommodate the wiring. It was easier, cheaper to add additional rack instead of trying to fight with the wiring that was put over the closet for $1,592. It was decided that we didn't need a window shade channel along the side of the window shade for several of the rooms, classrooms. I apologize for got a credit for that of $8,520. PCO 156 is add an annual air collector in the ceramics room for when the kids are standing and taking care of their clay pottery after it's fired and collect the dust. That was for $10,482. And then the field house, I needed to add hot water recirculation piping for $13,878.51. We worked harder. As you see, we've got the logs here. Continuously working on change orders and finalizing pricing. Trying to keep everybody, the community abreast of where we are financially. We're still doing very well, as I stated earlier. That's all I have. If we have any questions and any of those change orders, we'll have to answer them.
Okay, anybody have any additional questions or thoughts on anything? All right, okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll just, the only other, just a minor change to what's on the agenda to make that for PTO, we say to change loops to drops as part of the motion, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, opposed? All right, motion passes. We'll move right on to G2, can I have a motion to approve the following invoice package for central office as presented?
Motion.
We did like it's grand. Not hard. Okay, that's good. It's pretty okay. All right, so we'll open this one up for discussion.
So this one just has an invoice from TFKP Studio. This is their monthly professional services rendered through August 31st, $5,600. It's pretty standard for their administration, that.
Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. We'll move right on to G3. Could I have a motion to approve the attached invoice package from Hilliard New England for classroom trash receptacle, the amount of $9,285.20.
Motion.
Second.
We'll open it up for discussion.
I believe we mentioned this at last month's meeting, but we found that trash cans for each of the classrooms were not included in FF&E. This was brought to the decision-making group first, and everyone agreed that that is a necessary expense. This is a non-reimbursable expense, so it will be charged to our owner's contingency. The decision-making group did review and approve this, and this is now coming to the committee, and they have been ordered.
And received. Okay.
Are these both recycling and trash, or do we do just trash in the classroom?
This is recycling and trash.
Good clarification. All right, any questions on this one? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion passes. Move right to G4, could I have a motion to approve the attached invoice for outstation events in the amount of $6,080 for technical services for convocation?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I believe this is another item we discussed at last month's meeting. Convocation was held on August 23rd, and at that time, there were still some AV items that were incomplete and were required for convocation to be held in the building. Because they were not done at that time, it was brought to the decision-making group to see if we would pay for the AV services. The decision-making group did review and approve this. It's non-reimbursable, but we felt that because the AV was not complete at the time, that we would pay for it, and this comes out of owner's contingency.
Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item G5, could I have a motion to approve the attached invoice for convocation events in the amount of $2,215 for technical services for the ribbon cutting program?
Second.
Discussion.
Same situation with this. I think also as we started to see the attendance numbers go up into over 1,000, we also realized that the portable AV equipment that we do have could not project, because if you remember, it was going to be held outside the ribbon cutting at first. We needed something to project, so we were going to contract out. Then it moved inside in the AV, like the convocation was not available at that time. So this is an expense that's not reimbursable, but will come out of the committee account that we discussed here.
Any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, and final item G6, can I have a motion to approve a $20,000 increase to IMTL's purchase order for materials test?
Motion.
Second.
All right, we'll open this up for discussion.
IMTL, again, is our materials testing. They were awarded this through a public bid process previously. We did increase their PO amount back in September of 2023. And we were basically spot on for the completion of the new high school in terms of the amount needed for materials testing. We do have some remaining work, for the site work. There's also, paving that has to happen. So, we're anticipating probably $20,000 would get us through to that completion. So this would just increase their PO amount to complete that work.
Any questions on that one? That this just prevents them from having to come back to us with every single additional charge for approval left.
Yeah. And keep them going, so we're not,
Yeah, we're not holding.
So, okay, this is for testing or for buying materials?
For materials testing, so, they did it all for when the building was being done to make sure, they test the rebar, they test the concrete, they test all of the materials as they go in to make sure they're up to standards and they're safe. That would continue for the paving, you still have the tennis court. What's that?
They do compaction testing.
Compaction.
So as they're placing out gravel, sub-base process and then the paving, it'll come out with a nuclear density machine, will test it based on the proctor and the SIP analysis for the materials that are being.
No, I read it wrong. That's what it goes for the materials, those are materials.
Tested.
Materials testing, yes.
Thank you.
Any changes with that one? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we just do item H, other business, anything else? Questions, thoughts? Additional information? Nothing else, so I think we're, as of right now, the first meeting for October is still on the calendar. I don't, we would need that. Is there any thoughts on it? Do you want us to do a motion now?
Yeah, Nelson, do you think there's any reason we would need the first October meeting?
But we definitely need, we obviously know we would be, or whatever.
Yeah, so that's scheduled for October 2nd.
October 2nd.
So I think we can have
Okay, then,
a motion to cancel.
all right. Can I have a motion to cancel the October 2nd, would be for Thursday, right?
Yeah.
For the communications subcommittee and the high school building committee meeting. Motion. Any further discussion on that one? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ready? Opposed? All right, motion passes, so we will, we're gonna make that adjustment to the calendars. But remember, we do absolutely need that, later October meeting. Obviously our normal agenda, but also the first sheet of the deal as well. All right, any other thoughts or questions? No? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will adjourn at 5:50. Thank you, everybody.